Welcome to the Transformational Storyteller Podcast. The stories we tell ourselves and others shape the lives we lead. I'm your host, Dara Lise Lyons. My guest today, Kimberly J, is a beautiful person inside and out. I met her at an event and she just has this magnetic spirit. She is full of light, but her life wasn't always that way. And so she is on today and she's going to tell us a story about how she turned pain into passion. I can't wait to hear it.
My story is from, my story title basically is From Pain to Passion. I became a mother and my son's father and I had decided to get married. As soon as after we decided to get married, it didn't work out, and I'm this new, excited mom, really good at it, and I remember laying on the sofa when I realized that we weren't gonna work out, just being so upset at the fact that my son wasn't gonna have the life that I really wanted for him. So I remember laying on the sofa and I was crying from a place that I can't even, I'm glad I've never been back there. And then out of nowhere, this peace just came over me. In the last 9 months, I was planning to start a company, and I don't know what was taking me so long, but out of nowhere, I just got the move to just get up and just make it happen. So I remember getting up, cleaning my entire apartment, curling my hair, taking my son to my sister's, and I made my first tree. I sold it the next day to the same woman who sent me the eviction threat letters. Next time I made one for myself, put it on Facebook. People were ordering them immediately, and my business kind of started from there.
So what I love about Kimberly's story is that it's a story of resilience, of getting up after getting down. And Just Strong is our segment sponsor for today. Just Strong is a lifestyle and clothing brand for women. Their symbol is the squat. And what they have to say about that is that the real strength comes from getting back up after life gets you down. So if you want to take advantage of their generous 10% off discount for any of our show viewers or listeners, go to www.juststrong.com and enter the coupon code DaraLise10 at checkout. Kimberly, thank you so much for coming on today and being willing to share your story.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited. And I actually just have to say, when you talk about going from pain to passion, I so relate to that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I know. Well, so tell me, because that moment, right, where you're just laying on your bed or on your couch, just totally devastated. Right. What do you think was that thing inside of you?
I feel like it was the universe. I can't remember what was going through my mind at the time. I just remember feeling a whole bunch of pain and then peace out of nowhere. I can't remember if I was praying. I don't remember what was happening, but I know my little boy was laying on top of me sleeping, and out of nowhere the tears just stopped. That feeling just stopped. It was just gone, and I just got up, cleaned my apartment, curled my hair, and then got that tree out. So it was weird, but I don't know, it was amazing. And I even thank my son's father, even though we're really cool, we're really close, we're family, good friends. Now I thank him sometimes for my business because I felt like that really pushed me to make it happen,
Well, he gave you two things, right?
Yes.
I mean, he gave you your son, who you love, and then
Exactly.
also the inspiration.
And that's why I started looking for an entrepreneurial endeavor in the first place. I fell in love with being a mom. My son's father worked for the first 6 months of his life, so I got to stay home with him. I didn't have to leave every doctor's appointment. I could just go. So I got kind of addicted to being with him. So I kind of was like, all right, I want to put myself in a position where I don't have to leave him, So
how old is he now?
He's 11.
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
so he's only ever known you really then as this entrepreneurial, creative spirit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, so tell me, because you know, you were speaking about how you'd already had this business idea to well, and so actually wait, I want to back up. People don't actually know what you do. So talk about what your art is, and then I want to ask you that question.
Okay. I can answer them together actually. I started when we were planning to get married. I wanted to find a unique centerpiece. So I was looking online, and this woman had a tree branch and a glass vase with rocks, and she had 2 crystals hanging from it. And I'm like, oh, that's so pretty. So I tried to remake it. And as I was hanging I didn't have crystals. I was hanging a couple necklaces just to kind of get the feel for it. I'm like, wow. I guess I started hanging more jewelry on. I'm like, wow, this is a really cool way to store jewelry. So I'm like, oh, okay. So then my mind gets racing. My little boy, he comes over and does something, but the whole thing crashes to the floor. So then that takes me to the next step, that I'm like, okay, I need to find a way to make this a sustainable product. So I researched different types of branches, and I researched different ways to actually seal it permanently so it can be heavy where other kids can't easily do that. And then eventually I came up with the perfect product.
Wow, and so now you create these artistic masterpieces based on like trees. So the trees are sort of the foundational part of the art.
Exactly, and they're real branches. I get them from the West Coast. They're really smooth. They're like a red wine color naturally. They're really, really pretty, and I seal them permanently. So people ask me, do you have to water them? Do I have to put them near the sun? Like no. They are immortally beautiful, and they're natural, like, you know, so. And I spray paint them different colors to match weddings. Yeah.
So are most of the orders that you get, are they custom orders that you're doing?
Almost all of them are custom. Yeah, I mean, they all are, because, you know, 2 branches can't be the same. So people order them for their homes, and they want them to match, you know, the decor. Weddings, I do them according to their color scheme. I do them for funerals, and I have tags hanging from them where people put their favorite memory of the person on the tag. The weddings, they have advice for the couples. I do them for baby showers where they give advice to the couple there too. So they're really like a custom keepsake, you know?
Yeah, well, and really it sounds like you infuse like meaning into
Definitely
each one.
I always call them functional art.
Yes. Well, I love that. You know, and it's funny because I feel like sometimes what we think we're going to be doing with a creative skill is not what we end up doing. Like you thought these were going to be for your wedding.
Yeah, right. I mean, I thought for my wedding, and then I changed it to jewelry, and then it changed into events. So I still do the jewelry ones as well, but that's how it began.
So walk me through a little bit about your artistic process. Like, what's that even like?
It's a lot, but I found ways to make it not as annoying. So when I get the branches, I'll trim and shape them and make them perfect immediately in that. And I get once I get the bases, I'll like seal and do what I need to do to those to make them perfect. So as I get orders in for parts of the process, I'll take care of that part. And that way, in the end, I have everything. So as soon as someone puts an order through, when I have free time, I'll go shopping for the custom things, like the particular paint color they wanted, or the particular little animal that correlates with their baby shower, etc. Those type of things.
So it seems like you're like a good mix of practical and inspired. Would you say that?
Thanks. I would say so. I like that.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's the case for me. You know, people will sometimes ask me about like with writing, they're like, oh, you know, how do you do it? And I say, well, 90% of it is like being meticulous about actually like getting the work done. And then 10% of it is just like the pure fun and enjoyment of creating.
Exactly. Yeah. And there are some creations that I have, and I'll take a step back and I'm like, wow, I did that. Yeah. Like, that's amazing. Like, I had an order that looked like, what are they, like cherry blossom trees?
Yes.
And it's funny, the HVAC people were in my apartment outside on the patio redoing the pipes. And this one particular man, every time he would pass through, he was gawking at my trees like a man would a woman.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And so for some reason, I don't know why, I didn't offer him a business card or anything. He complimented him. I don't know why. He came back off duty and was like, listen, I need one of those trees. It's my 5th year anniversary with my wife. We're supposed to get her something that's made of wood. This is perfect. And he was so excited about it. Like, he's been sending me well, it's ended now, but maybe up until a week after, he literally picked it up.
Yeah.
He was sending all type of compliments. He added his own little cards that have trees on them, and inside the card, he put things that he loves about her in each card and hung it off the tree. Like, this man is like an anomaly.
Oh my God, I know.
Right.
Can't we all have like that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
But that's one part I love about it too, that people look at my art and they have a vision for how to make it theirs, and then I bring it to life. You know, so.
Well, and branches, right? I mean, that's so evocative of like, there's this grounded tree, there's this solid foundation, and then all these offshoots. And I feel like your creative process is all these offshoots, right?
Exactly. And that's what makes it fun, the customization part, you know? So I'll have some people, they'll see a tree and they're like, I want it just like that. I'm like, listen, this is about customization. Let's make it yours. Like, we can mimic the theme, but like, let's make it your tree. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to have two pictures of the same. This is for your baby, you know? Yeah. So, and they always like that.
Well, that's interesting, because I was gonna ask you the question, like, is it ever hard for you to part with the art that you create?
Oh yes, I've had a couple trees that I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna make her another one.
Yeah.
But yeah, a few of them it was hard. I wanted to keep them for myself.
Really? So. Does the customization help with you not wanting to keep it for yourself as much, or does it have nothing to do with it?
Even though it's kind of sometimes, okay, a lot of people trust me with just the color and the theme, and I kind of ask for them to trust my artistic, with that. So that's what I love. So I'll get a vision once they give me the color and theme. I'll get a vision of how it's best to create it, and I work best with that. So it's kind of more mine in that way. Yeah. I have a few people who are really meticulous about what they want, and I'm usually don't struggle with it, but I have a couple times.
Yeah, I hate that actually. When people, like with editing stuff, when people are like, oh, I want you to do it this way.
Exactly. And it's like, you're the artist, like you know how it looks best. So I found ways to nicely deliver, like, listen, I respect your idea. I want you to love the tree, but this color mixed with this color is not gonna look good. Like I've tried every way I could. And then a lot of them will trust me and just let it go.
Well, it's so interesting, because I feel like so many times in life, right? Like, and I certainly struggle with control issues, I'm sure, but like so many times in life, we want something that someone has to offer, but then we want to tie their hands when it comes to delivering that thing, right?
And there's been a few people I had to say, listen, you contacted me just from the vibe of how the transaction went. I had to say, listen, you contacted me because you like my work. So you trust me, trust that I'm going to make sure you love it. Yeah. And, they do. But I've had to turn down a couple orders, too. Like, they were just too, I don't know how to explain it. I don't do well with people that I don't even know how to explain it. But basically, there's no amount of money that's going to make me compromise my art. If you're being negative spirited about it, so people I'm like, no thanks. And she's like, no, please, for my wedding, you were a headache to work for.
Yes,
when you work for somebody else,
yes.
When you work for someone else, you have to deal with the customer maybe being always right. But if it's my company, you're not always right.
Well, I appreciate that, and I totally relate, because there's something about, like, when you're working with someone and you're fully on board with their project and they're fully on board and you're collaborating, like, that's a beautiful experience. And it's not just about the end product, it's about that whole process.
Right, and it's about being trusted too, Trust the artist. Trust that they're going to give you something that's way beyond what you think. Yeah. And that's normally what I hear, that they got more than what they expected. And that's kind of what I strive for, Yeah.
When you had mentioned, you talked about prayer a little bit briefly, and you talked about vibe a couple of times. Yes. And I feel like that, like, trust, and you mentioned the universe as well. Yes. Like, I think there is a lot about, like, trusting and letting go. And so how do you trust yourself in this process?
I go with my feeling about things. There's been some projects where I don't know, my spirit just wasn't in the right place, and I take that very seriously. So if my spirit isn't in the right place, I'm not gonna create a tree for someone. I feel like it attaches to it, and I don't want to send anything in anyone's home that's not full of love and confidence and, you know, the things that art should be. So there's been times where I'm like, okay, I need to like push this project off a little bit, you know, and there's been times where I had some troubles with the trees. I don't know if it was problem sealing it or if the paint kept bunching up, you know, so it's not as easy as it looks at all.
Oh, it doesn't look easy to me. Like, no, to me, I'm like,
it looks really easy
no,
to
it
people.
looks beautiful.
Thank you.
Your art looks beautiful,
Thank
and
you.
like I want it, but it doesn't look easy to me. Like
Okay.
I have no idea how you do it.
Thank you. No, I assume that people would think that it's a very easy process, but it's not. It takes about 3 days to really perfect it the way that I want, and that's drying it properly. And this is with time. Time has taught me a lot about not rushing the process. So
how long did it take you in the beginning, like some of the first trees that you would make?
I don't remember. Oh my gosh. There's been so many improvements since then. I don't remember, honestly.
Yeah. Well, maybe, I mean, when you talk about improvements too,
Right.
like maybe it's not even an issue of like how long it took, because what you do now is so much more.
Yeah, I think it takes longer now than it did then. And I think it's because I learned that rushing, like spray painting too fast, putting that second coat on too fast before the first one dries. And even with the elements, there's certain ways I need to paint when it's warm outside as opposed to when it's cold. And then with sealing it, there's different things I need to do with making sure that the tree is properly aligned with the way the branches are, just to make sure that there's so much science and everything mixed into it. And even with the stuff that I use to seal it, I have to make sure the water is the proper temperature, so it's a lot.
And that, you know, to me, it's like a metaphor for life too, right? Like the more attention to detail we bring to our lives, and the more like love and care, the better.
To spin off that, it can also work in, the other way as well. I've learned there's been times where I'll have a tree that's basically perfect, and there may be like one piece of paint or something on the base that I don't like, and I'll go to fix it and wind up ruining the whole tree. Like the mistake would just get bigger and bigger with me trying to fix it. So I had to kind of find ways to like sometimes accept a little imperfection, like realize people know this is a handmade item. So it's not going to be pristine in every way, but it's not going to be anything noticeable, you know?
Well, isn't there a culture, I don't remember what this tradition is from, but I know that somewhere they would make rugs. Do you know what and they would like intentionally put a flaw in the rug because
I like that.
because then like it could never be replicated. It could never be like it became priceless because of the tiny imperfection and the flaw.
I think the Chinese did something like that with vases and with the cracks, and they would fill the cracks with gold and make it like a good thing, you know? So
I love that.
Yeah,
right.
gorgeous.
And like and I think, you know, as a human being, I don't know if it's like an American thing or whatever, but like this perfectionistic tendency that I have sometimes, and it's like, oh my God, Dara, slow your roll. Perfect isn't good.
Right, exactly. And then it's just like if you find little ways to make yourself deal with, okay, like how I'm covering this pimple with a little bit of my hair.
Oh yeah, I'll say, so Kimberly, so just like to spin off on that, Kimberly came in today and she was like, just so you know, I've got a little pimple, so I'm gonna, have my hair in my face. And none of us even noticed, right? Like the pimple.
Like it's in my eyebrow. Like I'm not gonna show you guys, but it was enough for me to like feel self-conscious a little bit. But I found a way to cover it, and I'm okay. It's like I'm okay with you knowing, and that's with life too. Like be okay with your imperfections, be okay with people knowing about them, but find ways that they don't make you insecure, and that's what this was doing. Like I'm just gonna put a little piece of hair there, and I'm gonna do this interview, and I'm still gonna feel cute.
Yes. And anyone who's listening should check out the video version of this, because you are adorable.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. But, I think that is like one of the things, this is called the Transformational Storyteller podcast. And like one of the things that I firmly believe in is like that until we own all of ourselves, like it is just this like shifting of shame game or like trying to hide or whatever. And it's like, no, like how can you own that this might be something that you perceive as a flaw, but it might also be someone's favorite thing about you.
Exactly. And even like that with pimples, that's your body's way of containing something that's not good so it doesn't spread elsewhere. Yeah. So at the same time, though, I don't like the look of it. At the same time, I took into myself like, okay, my body's doing what it's supposed to do. Like, it's containing that in one little area to release it. So.
Well, do you think, because, I think about trees and like how, they're living, growing, breathing entities. Like, do you ever kind of think about like them as being containers for things, or like do you think about them as like kind of like how they grow or anything in that process, or is that sort of not?
No, I have a weird, I can't believe I'm gonna say this on camera. I have a weird relationship with trees that I'm still coming to find out more about. But long story short, I feel like they favor me. Like I felt like I was chosen. Like I even have a deeper story. Like I had an accident on Lincoln Drive where my car went over a 13-foot cliff. Oh my God. And there's nothing but trees out there. I didn't hit not one, but landed perfectly in between 4. And so people are rushing down to see if I was okay. Yeah. And I was fine. I don't remember thinking about death. I don't remember being scared. I didn't think about my son. Like it was like a moment that it was just, the things that you would think about if you think you're about to die. Yes. I was absent of all of those. So I remember once I looked around, I'm holding the steering wheel, I started shaking. And the man comes down, he's like, "Are you okay?" "Oh, she's okay, she's okay." And I start shaking, and it's only because I noticed these trees, like literally you could stick your hands out my windows and touch them. Like they were that close to my car. So it was kind of like they were guarding me.
You were like encircled by these trees.
And then there was one that had fell underneath already before I even came, that stopped my car from going into one that was directly in front of me. Like directly. And mind you, I was coming down a steep hill, making a left turn, and I was about to turn into traffic. I was trying to avoid the red light cameras. So I was going a little too fast trying to make the yellow light. It was my fault. So instead of hitting another car, I went to the right where all the trees were, and that's where the drop was. But anyway, long story short, coming down at that speed, like I would have went into that and I didn't have my seatbelt on. So that, it would have been a whole different story. So it was just like, wow, like these trees like guarded me. And then I'm flipping out, but in a good way. I'm telling everyone like, listen, like, how did I not hit a tree? And they was like, no, you didn't hit a tree. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. There's all these trees around here. How did I not hit a tree? And I sent the one guy back to my car. My license plate said Tree Guy at the time. I'm like, look at the back of my license plate. And I'm start showing him my tattoos and everything. And the branch that I keep in the back of it, I'm holding that. And I was just in awe of it. And I'm like, you know what? Like, if anything was trying to tell me, listen, this is way more than just a business. This is way more than just your son's father leading you. Like, we chose you to represent us. And trees are powerful.
I got chills when you were telling that story.
Most people do. It's weird. And I have to show you the video sometimes, too, because there's a spirit you could see in the trees. Like as I'm because I videotaped it, and I'm not one of these people that when you're going through something crazy to videotape. But I knew it was such a spiritual moment that I wanted to capture it, and I didn't even notice it. A friend of mine had noticed the spirit in the trees, and when she showed me, and I threw my phone across the room because it frightened me, but I know it was a positive thing, So.
Well, I think sometimes like those moments of intense spirituality they're both scary and beautiful.
It's not norm. It's not the norm. It's not what we're used to, But that moment for me was like. So sometimes I'm driving. It's really weird to say this. Sometimes I'll be driving, and then I think like they're looking at me like the queen is coming down our street. The tree queen is driving down our street.
Queen,
I know it's weird, but so what?
Well, no, I mean, I think it makes sense. Well, and your business name is My Ar Belle, right?
Yeah.
So can you speak about kind of like how that, yeah.
So I wanted something exotic sounding. It's My Beautiful Tree. I added 2 words together, Spanish for tree and French for beautiful, to get Ar Belle. So Arbol and then Belle. So I add them together. And then the My part just emphasizes the fact that it's customization.
Yes,
So.
yes. Well, and really, like, these trees are yours as much as trees can belong to someone, and then like you are sort of like of those trees. I mean, I know it got esoteric pretty quick, but like, I mean, I really do feel like there's something like this is like a spiritual practice.
I look
for
at
you.
them as my daughters, honestly. Like I know people were like, this girl is so weird.
No.
But no, I really look at the trees like I'm their mom and I'm sending them off to their new family, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Like you're almost like a surrogate or something.
Yeah,
like you
exactly.
are birth these babies, but they're really someone else's babies.
Right, and they're all females to me. Like all the trees are women to me. I don't know where that came from, but it was just a feeling like that.
Trees are women to me too. I don't know why. I don't know why. Yeah, I guess because they like generate life. I don't know. But
maybe that's okay. But
right.
So they're all my daughters to me. They're like all my daughters, and I'm giving them away. And then there's a few if I have a customer who isn't so nice, then I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm sending you to her.
Oh
like, hopefully you'll change her spirit. Maybe she'll see the light through you. Like I'll be apologizing. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh.
And there's other ones I'm like, you give me so much issues. Like, why are you being so difficult? So,
Well, what, like, as a side note, what kind of daughter were you? Were you a daughter who gave your parents a lot of issues, or were you like a well-behaved one?
I was well-behaved. I was always outspoken. Like I remember, I don't believe in beating kids. I mean, do what works for you, but I've always been one to feel that you can sit them down and really talk about it. So I remember I was about to get a beating, and then I'm like, do you have to beat me? Can't we just talk about this? Oh. She started laughing so hard that I didn't get the beating. But I was always that type of kid to like really speak my mind and everything. So I don't know if you want to call that difficult or not. But I was well behaved. I was a good student, and you know, I wasn't anything extra.
Yes,
the masses.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. Yeah, no, I was definitely difficult. But I think really like our creativity springs from something deep inside of us, and I think it does come from a spiritual place, and I think it's like, it's amazing that you found this thing that calls to you and resonates for you, and it's no accident that then speaks to other people.
Exactly.
So I do love to ask, and I like to ask each of my guests, like, well, if you could look at either your life or your creative process or whatever, and you could emerge with like one lesson or theme, because I think every story has like a lesson or a theme. Like, what would you want people to take away from your story in terms of lessons?
Turn your pain into passion. I feel like the things that hurt us the most, the things that plague us the most, I feel like spiritually they're there because we're supposed to do something for others, you know, through it. Like I have a close friend who's been struggling a lot from being in the military and everything. And I try to help him, but at the same time, I see him helping a lot of other people through the pain that he goes to. So a lot of people, when I see them really hurt, I don't know, for some reason, I see that they're meant to reach out to others, you know? Who better to listen to than someone who actually experienced it, you know?
1000%. And also, until you come through pain, it's really hard to appreciate where you've come from.
And sometimes I feel like you can help people in your pain. Like if someone had to give someone else you really care about advice, you'll find advice and ways through it that you couldn't give yourself, because you're deep in it, so you're swimming in it, but you can see somebody else out of it easier than you can yourself. And I feel like by helping others with that, sometimes you'll help yourself. You're like, wow, why don't I take this advice? Oh, I've done that.
Yes, totally. Sometimes I'll be giving someone advice, and I'm like, oh, that was actually, I needed to hear that maybe more than you needed to hear that.
Exactly.
So I want to make, I want to make it easy for people to find you, find the work that you do, like get connected with you. So tell us, like, where where does someone buy your work? Where do they see
Okay.
your trees? Like, give us your
Okay.
contact info.
I am on Etsy, ETSY. I'm on My Ar Belle. I'm on Instagram as My Ar Belle. That's MyArbelle. And then I also have a website, myarbelle.com. So you guys can see the pictures.
Yeah.
And that's not the extent of my work. Of course, I can make it yours.
Right, and I'll definitely put that in the show notes so that people can get linked up with you and talk about maybe like what their vision is for themselves and how you might be able to help like memorialize that and concretize that and bring to life like what they see for themselves and in these branches. I just think it's so beautiful and it's so meaningful. Art should really mean something.
I try to always emphasize the keepsake word to people, especially brides. I'm like, listen, your dress gets put away, your flowers die, that last piece of cake is in the freezer. Of course you have your pictures, but at least your tree can sit out as your family grows. And I've had trees like that. One lady, for her wedding, we customizing it for her first baby now, so it's like the one piece of your wedding that can really sit out. It was actually there with you that day, and now it can sit out in your home like every day.
And I love that you talked about recustomizing it, like that things can continue to shift and change and grow as your family shifts and changes and grows. Like pictures don't do that, right? They're fixed. So yeah. Oh my God. Well, thank you so much for like coming on today and talking about the work that you do and talking about your personal experiences, because I'm gonna be thinking about every time I see a tree now. I'm gonna be thinking about Kimberly J. Kimberly J. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
So grateful to Kimberly for coming on today and speaking about the inspiration behind her art. And she has generously offered to give a 10% discount on any of her creations to our show viewers and listeners. So if you would like to avail yourself of that 10% off, and it is well worth it, go to www.myarbelle.com. That's www.myarbelle.com and get in contact with Kimberly to place your order and get your 10% off. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Transformational Storyteller Podcast. As always, thanks to our episode sponsors, our production team at Rebel Hill Consulting, and of course, many thanks to you, the listener. Whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you're creating stories that empower you and inspire others.